In 2012, the world was just beginning to forget about the global financial crisis. The automotive industry was recovering. And among all the players, there was one who looked at the market map not as a battlefield, but as an area that could be occupied for a long time. To understand where the money will go, you first need to understand where the industry is going. In 2011, BMW achieved record sales of 1.5 million cars. This was a signal, not a noise, a signal. Entering a position is not a moment. It is a decision that is brewing. The lion in question was not a trader. He was not looking for quick money. He was looking for an asset that would survive a decade. And his gaze fell upon the Bavarian conglomerate. The stock price at the time was hovering around $49. Now it seems like a long time ago. But back then, it was money that wasn't just about spending. It was about trusting. And trust is the rarest currency in the world of finance. $49 per share. 10,000 shares. No one applauded. No one recorded the moment. It was simply recorded on the exchange server that an investor had become a shareholder of BMW AG. At that moment, he didn't know what would happen in a year, 5 years, or 7 years. All he knew was that the asset had been chosen. The rest was up to time. September 2015. The world learned the word Dieselgate, a scandal that started with one company, spread to the entire German automotive industry. Investors panicked. Stocks plummeted. In this chaos, it was crucial to distinguish between noise and signal. At such moments, most people see only red. Red numbers, red headlines, and red faces of analysts. But those who know how to wait look for something else. They look for the foundation. 7 billion euros in net profit. Not losses, not zero. Profit. In the midst of the industry crisis, BMW continued to make money. This was the foundation. Control. In investing, it is more important than intelligence. You can be the smartest analyst in the world, but if your hands are shaking in a crisis, you've lost. Leo didn't tremble. Hero's action. The hero removes his hand from the glass. His fingers open smoothly, without any sudden movements. He didn't sell a single share. When others were exiting their positions to save what little capital they had, he stayed put. He understood that a sector crisis was not the same as a company crisis. Time would tell who was right. By 2016, it was clear that the diesel era was coming to an end. The future was in electric cars, hybrids, and new technologies. BMW had made a bet on the i-Series. Not everyone understood this bet. Some called it an adventure. Lev wasn't watching the technology. Technology is changing. He was watching the people, the way they react to change. Because it's the market's reaction that determines the short-term price of an asset. While everyone was looking at electric cars, Lev was looking at the sales figures for SUVs. The X-Series was growing, not just a little bit, but at a double-digit rate. These were the cars that were bringing BMW the money it needed to keep its electric venture afloat. An investment is not just about buying. It's about holding on to it. When everything seems to be changing, it's more challenging to hold on to a position than it is to enter it. Leo knew this. The electric i8, hybrid technology. It all looked beautiful on the runway. But Lev wasn't interested in the glitz. He was curious about whether the company could turn this beauty into money. 2018, trade wars. The US and China are exchanging tariffs. European exports are under attack. For BMW, which produces cars in the US for the Chinese market and in China for the US market, this is not just news. It is a direct threat to its profits. At such moments, an investor is faced with something they cannot control. They cannot influence the decisions of the White House. They cannot reverse tariffs. All they can do is observe and decide whether to stay or leave. Duties. 2 words that cost BMW billions in 2018. The stock fell 17% over the year. This is a test of strength for any investor. Minus 17.73%. In dollars, that's tens of thousands of losses. On paper. But Lev wasn't looking at that number. He was looking at the company's dividend history and its ability to adapt. Trade wars were not the end. They were a test. BMW was reorganizing logistics, shifting production, and finding workarounds. It cost money, but the company was surviving. Lev didn't sell. In 2018, when many were exiting German assets, he stayed because he understood that tariffs are temporary. But the quality of an asset is forever. May 2019, BMW announces a change in CEO. Harald Kruger steps down. Oliver Zipse steps in. For an investor, a change in leadership is always a moment of uncertainty. Kruger had been in charge for 4 years. Under his leadership, the company had weathered the diesel scandal and embarked on a major electrification program. Now, a new leader was taking the helm. The market was in anticipation. Lev wasn't interested in the name. He was interested in the vector. Zipse was a technocrat, a man from within the system. He wasn't going to break what worked. He was going to adapt. A change of leadership always leads to a revision of forecasts. BMW has lowered its profit expectations for 2019. Many investors have taken this as a wake-up call. Lev has taken it as realism. €4 per share. In 2018, when the stock price was falling, BMW still paid dividends. For Lev, this was more important than quarterly reports. The company never stopped returning money to its shareholders. Changing teams is always a risk, but Lev stayed in the game because he wasn't investing in Kruger or Zipse. He was investing in a company that had survived decades and multiple CEOs. 2019 was coming to an end. 8 years since the first purchase. 8 years that had seen more changes than the previous 20. December 2019, 8 years. During this time, BMW paid dividends ranging from €2.30 to €3.50 per share. The company has experienced the diesel scandal, trade wars, and leadership changes. The share price at the end of 2019 is $53.44. It would seem that in 8 years, it's only plus $4, but that's just the price, excluding dividends. Without considering what those 8 years gave Leo, he held his position for 8 years. He didn't sell a single share. In 2015, when everyone was panicking. In 2018, when tariffs were affecting exports. In 2019, when the management team was changing. He just held on. I8, a symbol of where the company was going. Electric, hybrid, the future. Lev didn't buy this car as a toy. He bought it as a reminder. He believed in this path from the very beginning. Investing is not about guessing the bottom and selling at the peak. Investing is about choosing an asset that you are willing to hold on to during times of chaos and not regret it. $53.44, plus dividends, plus 8 years of experience that can't be bought on the stock exchange. Lev didn't become a billionaire on this deal, but he proved to himself the most important thing. He can take a hit. 2019 was over. 2020 was ahead. No one knew what it would bring, but Lev knew one thing. He was ready. Because 8 years had taught him the most important thing, calmness. That's what the path looked like. The beginning was $49. The diesel scandal led to a decline. The trade wars caused another drop. But each time, the company recovered. Because it continued to operate. It continued to pay dividends. It continued to move forward. Lev didn't sell. In 2015, he didn't sell. In 2018, he didn't sell. In 2019, he didn't sell. He held the position for 8 years. Because for him, the investment was a marathon, not a sprint. BMW, a company that has gone through crises, scandals, wars, and changes of era. And it has remained. Just as the person who believed in it 8 years ago has remained. Not a single share was sold. This is not a story about getting rich overnight. This is a story about staying in the game when others are getting out. Thank you for your attention. Subscribe if you want more stories on how to make decisions when chaos is all around. See you in the next episode.